The purpose of this presentation is to enhance the first-class serving techniques we have already learned. Pan Am is dedicated to continuing a tradition of excellence that we started in 1927. I'm sure we all agree that anyone who is physically capable can pour wine or place a plate on a passenger's tray table. But not just anyone can do it with grace, style, and flair. This presentation is dedicated to giving that extra touch for which Pan Americanists are very famous and respected. We will highlight serving wine and champagne, the spoon and fork technique, proper plate handling, carving a roast beef, and slicing cheese. Let's talk a little bit about wine. Pan Am has an extensive selection of wine, and we should be familiar with the wines and champagnes we have on board. We should also be able to pronounce the names properly. However, if you do not feel comfortable with the pronunciation, at least offer the wines by type, such as a red Bordeaux, a white Burgundy, a red Burgundy, and so on. The shape of the bottle will tell you what type of wine you're serving. The Bordeaux bottle is tall and slender with squarish shoulders. There's white Bordeaux and red Bordeaux. Green glass is used for red wine and clear glass for white. Bordeaux is inclined to be on the light, dry side. Burgundy comes in a stout, rounded bottle with sloping shoulders. This wine may also be either red or white. Red Burgundy is heavier in taste than red Bordeaux. Burgundies tend to be dry, but not quite as dry as Bordeaux's. Beaujolais is a type of Burgundy and comes in the same bottle shape as Burgundies. They are much lighter in taste. This wine is to be consumed very young. Champagne comes in the same bottle shape as Burgundy, however the glass is very thick. The cork is wired onto the bottle to withstand pressure. It is produced primarily from red grapes, grown in a very limited area of northern France. Only wine from this area may properly be referred to as champagne. When produced in other areas, it is referred to as sparkling wine. Sparkling wine produced in the United States may be called American or domestic champagne, or California champagne, as we see here. The wine label itself will give you additional information with which you can impress your passengers. The year or vintage of the wine, 1983. The name of the grape, Chardonnay. The region in which the grapes were grown, Napa Valley. And the vintner or the chateau in which the wine was bottled, Jaeger Vineyards. The most expeditious way to offer wine and champagne is by use of the wine rack. However, when pouring seconds, it is much more professional to offer the individual bottle. When you are using the wine rack, place one bottle of red, another of white, and champagne into the wine rack. Have a napkin available to wipe the lip of the bottle after pouring. When offering the wine to the passenger, lift the bottle from the rack and place it on top. Place your hand behind the label to give the passenger an unobstructed view of the label. Before pouring, allow the passenger to read the label. Pour slowly. Avoid touching the bottle to the rim of the glass. Fill the glass 2/3 just to the Pan Am logo. Twist to avoid dripping. Before returning the bottle to the rack, wipe the lip of the bottle. We will now demonstrate the pouring of champagne. Again, allow the passenger to read the label. Pour very slowly. Allow the bubbles to subside. Then continue pouring to the 2/3 level, just to the Pan Am logo. Twist the bottle, wipe and return it to the rack. Here are two other methods of pouring champagne using the punt of the bottle. These require more skill but demonstrate utmost flair. The deep indentation underneath the champagne bottle is called the punt. Place your thumb in the punt with the rest of the fingers supporting the bottle from behind the label. Again, as you pour very slowly. Pour only a small amount, letting the bubbles subside. Then continue pouring to the 2/3 level just at the Pan Am logo. Twist the bottle and wipe. The second method uses a linen wrapped around the bottle. The linen must be rolled or folded and crossed behind the bottle. Place 1 or 2 fingers in the punt while the rest of the fingers grasp the napkin. Do not use either of these two methods during turbulence or if you do not feel comfortable with them. During this segment, we will discuss the spoon and fork technique. The spoon and fork technique is very impressive. It is simple to use after you have practiced it for a while. It affords a more elegant presentation of food items than tongs. To use the spoon and fork, imagine that the two are hinged together on the bottom. Simply place them in your hand and secure them with your little finger and your ring finger. Manipulate the fork up and down with your index finger and your thumb. When picking up a thin item, remove your index finger so that the fork can hold the item secure on top of the spoon. Place it on the plate. Again, remove your index finger, place the item on the plate. Let's go over that one more time. Imagine the two items are hinged together on the bottom. Hold them secure with your little finger and your ring finger, and use your index finger and your thumb to manipulate the fork up and down. Pick up the food item, secure it with the fork on top of the spoon, and place it on the plate. For larger food items, invert the fork on top of the spoon, which will give you a better grip. Grasp the food item, hold it securely in place with the inverted fork, and place it on the plate. Let's do the same again with the rolls. Invert the fork, pick up the roll, and transfer it to the plate. Be sure to have a separate set of spoon and fork for every food item you serve. When handling a plate in first class, it is important to avoid touching the surface with your fingers. Rest the plate in the palm of your hand and use the base of your thumb to support the plate. It is surprisingly easy to hold the plate securely by this method. When plating food from the cart, you should leave the plate on the cart while you arrange the food items. Lift the plate by its rim, then rest it in your hand properly. When serving passengers on your right, use your right hand on the left side, use your left hand. When carving the roast beef, the most important thing to remember is to avoid sawing. The stroke should be in one direction, toward you. Hold the fork with the prongs up to avoid puncturing the meat, allowing the juices to escape. The only exception is if the roast has a bone. Then it is acceptable to use the prongs of the fork to hold the meat in place as you carve. Use a straight cut. You may carve thick or thin slices according to the passenger's preference. Arrange the meat on the plate using the fork and knife. Arrange the requested condiments around the meat. If there is an accompanying sauce, offer it to the passengers and then spoon it over the meat. Occasionally, you serve the natural juices from the roast. Au jus literally refers to the style in which the meat can be served. If you refer to juice itself, simply say, "May I offer you jus?" Vegetable and starch should be arranged around the meat with special attention to coordinating the color scheme. Place the plate on the table with the meat in the 5 o'clock position. Offer freshly ground pepper to the passenger. Let's turn our attention to slicing cheese. When offering cheese to our passengers, you should be familiar with the types of cheese we offer. This information is available on the menu description sheet given to the galley attendant. The cheeses will always be of the following varieties: soft cheese, semi-hard cheese, hard cheese, and blue cheese. Pan Am chooses regional cheeses that are popular with local passengers. Ask your local catering representative for a description of any cheese with which you are not familiar. When slicing cheese, cut it in small wedges. Use the cheese knife for hard cheeses, regular bulk knives for other cheeses. Use a separate knife for each cheese. If the cheese has a thick wax outer casing, remove the wax casing before serving to the passengers. Gouda and Edam are two examples of cheeses with a thick wax casing. To slice the cheese with a wax casing, slice just deep enough to leave the wax casing intact on the bottom. This allows for easy removal of the cheese from the casing. Now let us cut a wedge of camembert. Add the passenger's choice of cracker and butter if requested. Add a knife and fork serve the passenger's choice of cheese.